Hello and welcome to the very first G.I. Joseph Ashes Review podcast. As far as I'm aware, this is the very first fan Ashes podcast in the history of podcasts, although I'm probably wrong with that because I have not researched it that well at all. I'd like to give you what I think is a relatively, not unique, but a relatively a different viewpoint on the Ashes, one which comes from someone that is originally from England, born and raised until the age of 21, but has spent the last 6 years living in Australia, but still wants to see the Aussies lose. I've definitely got a renewed respect and a different point of view these days, but I still love to see the Aussies lose. We're not gifted that at all as England fans, especially not in Australia. And this series, I think going into it, predictions were I was 60 or 70% sure that Australia will probably come out the victors, especially without Ben Stokes. But I do think that the teams are fairly even overall. I think you've got Steve Smith for Australia, captain, number 4, best batsman in the world, and you've got Joe Root for England, captain, second best batsman in the world, number 4. And then I think you've got Dave Warner, Alistair Cook, 2 of the finest openers in the world game right now. Probably Dave Warner is slightly better at the moment. And of course both sides with a pretty good bowling attack all around. But the first game at the Gabbatoir, nobody's won there for 28 years, and you can see why. Once it turns Australia's way, 1 or 2 wickets in quick succession, it's definitely a bit of a cauldron, a bit of a place for belief. Although I have to say it's got nothing to do with the crowds. They were pretty abysmal during this test. Many empty seats, and not impressed by that support at all from the Australians up there in Brisbane. So coming into the match, now Cook gives away his wicket very cheaply. I think Cook might be one of the most frustrating English batsmen of all time because he's the highest ever test run maker of all time. He was captain and he did a pretty good job. He had that 2010/2011 series down in Australia where he almost couldn't get out. And ever since, in the last 4 or 5 years, he can't find his form, seemingly. He just can't find form. Anyway, so he gives his wicket out cheaply, and that brings in James Vince with Mark Stoneman. And I honestly thought, as I think every England fan and probably every Australian did, that who are these guys? Stoneman and Vince have not had good form for England coming into this. I know Stoneman on the tour has made a few good scores, but against like a Prime Minister 11 or a Cricket Australia 11 is not the same. But actually, they both put a very good partnership of over 100 on. Stoneman really ground out 50, took his time, frustrated the Australian bowlers, and I loved it. James Vince played some great shot selection, got himself to 83. It's a shame, again, that he couldn't convert, but it was a fantastic partnership and came at a really good time. Stoneman really reminds me of the likes of Geoffrey Boycott, Paul Collingwood, Shivner Chanderpaul, those kinds of batsmen. There's Mohammad Yusuf as well for Pakistan for a while. These Amla even, maybe not with quite the amount of runs at the moment, but in terms of, he just doesn't give his wicket cheaply. I'm pretty impressed with that, to be honest. England ended up making over 300, so 302 in that first innings, and honestly I thought that was not a bad total. There was a point where I was hoping it was going to be a lot more. Joe Root also got out quite easily in the first innings at 15, which is a bit of a disappointment. I think it's time for him to have a good series, get some runs in Australia, and right some of the wrongs from 4 years ago. But getting over 300 is not bad. Generally speaking, I think in the Ashes, when you get 350, 400, chances are you're probably going to win the match. So getting 300 really put us in the mix at least. Then the Aussies came in, and I think we had them in a lot of trouble. And Steve Smith deserves full credit. In my opinion, that innings is man of the match innings. He is just such a terrific batsman, and I hate it because he's got one of those faces that you kind of just want to see get punched. But he's a brilliant batsman. He came in and take him out of that team. Even just half the amount of runs that he got, and Australia lose this Test match. Simple as that. He's a brilliant player, and he deserves all the credit that he gets, especially as a batsman. England just can't ever seem to take his wicket. They just can't, and until they can, I don't think they're going to win a series in Australia. That's the problem. We just can't get 20 wickets while Steve Smith's there. Dave Warner, also fantastic batsman, didn't do too well in that first innings, and we'll get to the second innings a little bit later. On the England bowlers side of things, I think Anderson got a couple of wickets, a couple of very nice deliveries, but didn't seem to really get going. Moeen also didn't get the spin and the movement that Lyon got throughout the match. Broad looked the best England bowler, and Australian pitchers have always suited him. Jake Ball came in, got a good wicket, but didn't really get much other joy. Chris Woakes, I believe, also got one wicket, didn't get much joy either. Our attack definitely is blunted without a few of the other pace bowlers. We missed Stokes. Steve Finn didn't make it to the team. Anderson's 35. We can't rely on him much longer. Broad's 31. Maybe he's got a couple more years at the top, but two of the best bowlers England have ever had, and we don't seem to be bringing any more top quality ones through at the moment, which is a little bit scary. Anyway, so Australia pulled themselves to a 30-odd run lead after the first innings, but you definitely say that England was still in the mix. After 2 days, we were definitely still in the mix, and it came to the weekend, and Saturday, you could see the tides were starting to turn. It was starting to go in Australia's favour. Saturday was the day we couldn't get Smith out, and then we went into bat, and in that evening session we lost a couple of quick wickets, and that really gave Australia the advantage. We just gave away his wicket again pretty easily. Stoneman didn't quite follow up on the first innings, and nor did James Vince, unfortunately. Joe Root was looking to play himself in. He got a 50, and I was really hoping that he was going to put in a Steve Smith-like first innings. Unfortunately, what we got was another LBW from Root, and our batsmen just didn't perform well enough in this match. The top and the middle order were blasted away too quickly, too easily. This Australian attack is not what it once was. We shouldn't be scared of them. Yes, Stark bowls up and around 140, 85 odd miles an hour, 140 odd k's an hour, and he gets a little bit of swing, but he's not Mitchell Johnson. He isn't. He's not Glenn McGrath. He's not Peter Siddle. He's not Brett Lee. He's not Shower Bakhtar, and I think I'd like to see a couple of our batsmen go after him a bit more. So basically, after this innings, Australia had a fairly simple target. They had a day and 4 sessions essentially to get there, and basically Warner and Bancroft had no problems at all. Didn't get out, didn't look like getting out, and it's a 10-wicket victory to Australia. 10 wickets makes it look like a lot more of a convincing victory than it possibly was, given that for 2.5 days, it was very, very tight. I think the real difference is that Australia have a batsman that will always score runs. Steve Smith, I think, as a captain, is averaging like 90, which is Don Bradman-esque levels, and that's something quite special. You cannot look past that. Basically, take his score, as I said, down by 50 or 75 runs, and England win this match. No doubt in my mind. He's definitely the difference maker. And I think you could potentially even have put Stokes in this match, with Steve Smith scoring that, it might not have made a difference. Who knows? I think we have to say that the Australians completely deserve the win. But I do feel like it's another time where England have gift-wrapped it for them. We weren't good enough at getting them out. We should have got them out for under 150 in their first innings, and I think ultimately our second innings was weak, was meek, feeble, fragile, and cowardly. And I hope that this is not a sign of things to come. We've got a match in Adelaide this week, and we're in a position where I think we have to win that to avoid a 5-0. I think if we lose that one, go 2-0 down, this is going to be another 5-0 summer, and it really shouldn't be, because they're not that good, the Aussies. Just a few remarks on off-the-field stuff. First of all, let's talk about Ben Stokes for a second. England's way of handling things is, if anyone's got this sort of trouble going on, they want to take them out of the firing line. They did it in football, soccer in 2009 or 10, I'm going to say, with John Terry, the England captain. There was a whole debate about him and Wayne Bridges' ex and a few other things, and they took the captaincy off him. And straight away, they have this thing of there's no such thing as innocent until proven guilty in England. Aussies were trying to stoke the fire, but I 100% guarantee you, if Ben Stokes was an Australian and this same thing happened, he'd still be playing for them whilst this was happening. I think if England want to be as ruthless as Australia have been in the past with cricket, we need to learn how to win at all costs, and that means sometimes playing a guy that's under police investigation. I'm all for, if it comes back and he gets charged, I'm all for punishing him then. I think the punishment really shouldn't be not letting him play. I think it should just be telling him that he's forfeiting his match fee for the tour. Ben Stokes, to be fair, he gets paid enough from the IPL lately, but I think it is, you fine him the match fee or 50% or 60% or something like that. Johnny Bairstow was actually quite an amusing bit of sledging from the Aussies. Sounds like it's just a nothing incident where the club, the bar didn't report anything, Bancroft didn't report anything, no one reported anything. It was just one of those coming together where maybe his head touched the other guy's head. Could be a lot of things. Probably is more of an issue the fact that it's a few times now that a few of these England players have been caught doing out drinking when perhaps they shouldn't be. Now, I know that these tours are very long and you can't expect them to be completely focused all the time. They've got to have some downtime, but just think that they should not be caught in the bars so much. It's been a long-standing issue of English cricket. I think back to the Fredolo incident a few years ago, or English Rugby Union as well, and I think it's about time that some of these boys just started to learn a little bit more about keeping out of trouble whilst on tour or at a World Cup or something like this. The talk before the game was also, I just want to talk about Nathan Lyon's comments or supposed comments about wanting to end England players' careers. It's not motivational. That is not fight talk. It's not pep talk. It's not G-up talk. That is ignorant, stupid, it's arrogant, and it's disrespectful. You don't talk about ending another player's career. You don't talk about it. It's not the right thing to do. I'm sure the England players this tour have said that we're happy for the Aussies to talk. But just, Nathan, you're a good enough player. Just shut up and play, mate. Like, just you don't need to be saying stupid stuff like that. I still think that there's a long series to go. A draw or an England win in Adelaide, and it's on. I think that the Aussies definitely have a lot of chinks in their armour. This is not the Gilchrist, the Warne, the Ponting, Hayden Langer, McGrath era. This is an era where the bowling attack is okay, batting is below par. Looking at Payne, Marsh, Khawaja, these are not top draw players. Khawaja especially. He's never played, I don't think, outside of Australia for Australia, and he's never really scored that highly for Australia either. He's a journeyman. He's a guy that I had it in my head that he was still a youngster coming through, but he's over the age of 30 already. I expect us to bully him, and I think, that's what we should do. I don't think this will be the 5-0 whitewash. I don't think so. But to do that, England really, 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 really need to do something good at Adelaide. Till next time, guys. That is the G.I. Joseph Ashes Review Podcast.